friends are calling you out to play. Come on, we'll make you feel right at home. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail. Let's see what lies in store for you. There's so many things to see and do. Summer, winter, spring or fall, you're home in the Rockies has it all. So gear up, get ready to plan your day. The ideas are brewing, you're on your way. The fun is waiting outside your door. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail.
Hi, I'm Cece Zach, and welcome to Good Day Vail, a show that is dedicated to helping you live your best life in the Vail Valley. And this show is your eyes and ears about all things to help you thrive in the mountains. And today's episode is around one that helps us understand new perspectives, helps us have more critical thinking, helps us develop more of a community, and also helps us understand how to read the New York Times bestseller list. Well, if you haven't guessed it yet, today's episode is around book clubs and book clubs in the Vail Valley. I'm so excited today to have Karin Barker, who is a book concierge from the Bookworm, as well as Diane Loosbrock, who's an avid reader amongst many other contributions in the Vail Valley. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with the book club episode.
Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail.
Hi, and welcome back to Good Day Vail. I'm Cece Zach, and you've joined us for the book club episode. And I'm delighted to have Karin and Diane here to tell us everything we need to know about books and clubs in the Valley. But before we do that, could the two of you just tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the Valley and why you're still here? Go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. We vacationed here for many, many years. But when my husband retired the first time, about 14 years ago, he said, "What are we doing here in the Midwest? Let's move to the Valley." And so we did. He took another job while we were in the process of moving, but I stayed behind. And so I guess it's been about 14 years now we've been here. Full time.
That's lovely. I know when we were preparing for this episode, you had said that you'd been here back and forth a few times, but now this is home for you. And so we are blessed to have you in the Valley. Thank you.
I'm so glad to be here.
And Karin, it's been quite some time for you, right?
I've been here over 35 years, met my husband here, raised our family, immediately kind of found my place and people, and I love it. And we stay because of all the activities that we love, the people that are here, our kids, some of our kids are still here, and it's just it's home, and we won't leave.
Matter of fact, when you say your kids are still here, I think you have one in Denver and one here in the Valley as well?
No, we have one here and one in Idaho.
In Idaho, okay.
Diane has a Denver kid.
I had 3 kids in New York, and over the last couple of years, they've all moved to Colorado.
See, it's
It's a
that
draw.
generation, it's the generation below us that validate why we're all here in the Valley.
Right.
So getting into books, tell me a little bit about how the two of you became so interested in books and what that has led to your own lifestyle.
Well, I started reading at a very young age, and I lived in Minneapolis.
Let me just note for the viewers that I think you said 3. You were an avid reader at 3.
Yeah. Bookmobile coming was the best day of the week for me.
Oh, that's so great.
You could take a lot of books home. And it's always been like that. I've just always loved to read. It's an escape. It's a way to learn new things. It's my happy place.
And Karin, what about you?
I started reading at a young age too, and I was an only child, so if the neighborhood kids weren't around, I always had something to do or a friend to find in a book. We had millions of books in my family home, and so that was, I think my dad used to read Sherlock Holmes to me when I was going to sleep.
Oh, that's delightful, but scary all at the same time. For me, a little bit.
Yeah.
So reading books, I'm going to make a leap here, kind of led to book clubs.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about your history with book clubs.
Well, you know, when you read a book that's really good, you just want to share it. And that is many times what brought me into groups of people. Back when I was raising my kids, there were 4 of us. We read a lot of books together. And when you'd read a really good book, it just makes it so much better to be able to discuss it with people. So I had a group, there were just 4 of us back in Illinois. We read a lot, and then I moved here, and through the Alpine Club, of which my husband and I are members, they had a book club there. We kind of took it over. The Alpine Club helps to administrate it, and they allow us to meet there. But there's a list of probably 30 people that come in and out. There's probably 12 or 15 core members. And every month we pick a book and we read it and discuss it.
So I look forward to getting into more about the logistics to help our viewers understand how to get involved in book clubs. But as I also recall, that book club in Illinois had a really interesting name to it. And it was fascinating when you told me about the topics and the content, because I think that's important for our viewers to understand that each book club can have a different focal point. So do you mind sharing that with us a little bit?
Not at all. Like I said, there were 4 of us. My 3 friends were all in a program to become spiritual advisors, and they all branched out from that. But they were reading some very interesting books, and as we'd start to talk, we decided, well, we'll just meet regularly and discuss them. So we called ourselves the Soul Sisters. We did go to an Aretha Franklin concert.
Oh, I love that.
And it was just very eye-opening, you know, really broadened my horizon on spiritual things.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And Karin, I know, same with you, you've had a book club for a really long period of time. So tell us about that.
So I've been involved in a book club here for over 30 years. Started with a friend and I talking. We had 2 little kids. We were kind of ready to have some adult time type of thing, and we just expanded from there. And I don't think we've missed a month since. We've had 20 or so people kind of in or out. Depends on if people are moved. Whenever they come back, they're welcome. But I'd say we have 8 to 10 people that are at each meeting. And at this point, we have 15 really active members.
So I hope you don't mind. I have a photo
good.
of your group. If we can show the photo of what I think is just such an amazingly clever name, the Bookends. Tell us a little bit about the fact that you have been together for 20 some odd years, and it really has been part of your life. It's not even a lifestyle. Share the value that has brought to you and the group that we just saw in the photo.
Yeah, so we call each other the Bookends because we kind of sometimes hold each other up. So there's a lot of things besides just book discussions that are really important to all of us. You know, we've all been friends. Some of us, we wouldn't see each other as much because we're busy or have other life things, but we've all been able to really connect through book club and to stay friends, and it's kind of like a book community for us, a club community.
Well, and I assume over the last couple of years, due to the pandemic, that things have been kind of challenging. But as you have held each other up through COVID, can you share how you continued on with the book club during the pandemic?
Well, we met outside for those first few months. We'd sit around someone's fire pit, or we would go for a hike and then just sit in a park somewhere instead of going to someone's home. We did lose one of our members to COVID, so that was...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a sad time. So, but we kept it up. We never even Zoomed or anything. We always got together somehow.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And as I believe the both of you have shared with me, is that through the understanding of how to use Zoom and what have you, that you now have people that join your book clubs that may go away for a period of time from the Valley, but they're still part of the group.
Yeah, we really use Zoom a lot because we have a lot of second homeowners that belong to our book club. And so even when they can't be here, we always bring a computer and open it up and they can add to it. So some of the members don't like that as well, and I have to say it loses a little intimacy, but it's a way to still stay in touch, read the books, discuss them. And then we have a lot of chatter that goes back and forth afterwards of people that will find an article or see something interesting and then send it out to the group.
So how are your book clubs managed? Can you help our viewers understand what it takes to really start and then manage a book club?
I think the starting is just finding people who might be interested. Read a book, see if it, broadens everybody's understanding of the book. Our club, we take turns being the hostess, picking the book, and leading the discussion. And we try to really think of thoughtful questions. And we almost always find that it leads to a different appreciation of either our friends, their lives beforehand that we knew them, or the book in general. You always come away with an appreciation, something that you didn't think of.
And you had mentioned in preparation that it really is a wonderful way to just truly understand the soul of the people that are in your group, because they do share that intimacy that you wouldn't get just from a cocktail or coffee conversation,
Right.
Based on the questions that you were talking about. Now, Diane, you had mentioned that the Alpine Club is management's just a little bit different. Would you like to share with us how that club is managed?
Yeah, we're probably a little less organized in a lot of ways. Anybody that's a member of the Alpine Club that wants to join our group just simply sends in their email and they're part of the list. Once a year, I send out a synopsis of books that have been suggested by the members of the group, and everybody reads it over and picks their top favorites. And we are pretty disorganized, I guess.
No, you're probably very organized.
If you suggest a book, you can facilitate it if you want to. If you're not comfortable with that, somebody else does. We don't have a lot of rules, actually none. I mean, sometimes people come just because they want to hear about the book. Maybe they haven't even read it yet. But I've found that because of the really disparate backgrounds, you learn a lot about the book. You know, something where somebody has lived abroad, you know, might have a whole new different feeling for them than it would be for somebody local. And when you facilitate in our group, you can do pretty much whatever you want. People bring in history on the author. We've had video recordings of the author. So sometimes we've had the author actually attend, either through Zoom
fabulous.
or, yeah, that's really been fun.
So save that thought, because I'm going to ask our viewers to stick with us while we take a break and we come back to hear more about logistics of book clubs and the value it can bring to you in enriching your best life in the Vail Valley. Stay tuned.
Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail.
Thanks for sticking with us. I'm Cece Zach. This is Good Day Vail, and this is the Book Hub episode. And as I mentioned before, I'm thrilled to have Diane Loosbrock and Karin Barker here. And we want to talk a little bit more about how can our viewers get involved with local book clubs. So let's just start with the basics. How many of them are there out there that we know of?
I think there's probably at least over 100.
100.
That'd be my guess. If you were interested in getting into a book club, the libraries have excellent monthly book clubs that you can just read the book and drop in.
And the libraries, just, I mean, we're talking Gibson, Eagle, Avon, Vail. And does Edwards have I should know
Nope.
this. No, okay.
Nope.
So I've got the
Those
four in
four.
the valley. Okay.
And they have, I think, a pretty good turnout. A lot. I've been 2 or 3 times, and it's fascinating. You meet new people every time. So if you were really interested in joining a book club, I would start there. And also just talking to friends. I think, you know, you mentioned it. That's how you started. That's how I started too. And you know, you find a friend who you have some common interest, and you say, "Hey, do you want to read a book?" and start talking about it. And then let's next month let's bring a friend.
I don't find much intimidating. I know our viewers might find that hard to believe, but I do find starting a book club a little intimidating. So, any tips on like how to additionally foster? Are there things? Well, let me just put it to you this way, Karin. You work at the Bookworm,
Right.
Tell me, are there events that you have at the Bookworm that can help get our groups together or make me feel less intimidated meeting someone that may be interested?
So
in
really
starting
there's
a club?
2, I think. And one is we have a handful of events where the author comes to speak. And you're going to get people of all sorts of interests that come to listen. And so you might find someone who's really fascinating and you sit next to and you're chit-chatting and you're like, oh, I really love this book too.
Actually, and we have a photo. Thank you for sharing the photo up here. If you take a look at it, it was.
Oh yeah.
I did not read this book, but I need to after seeing this photo. But
So this is a little different. This was a couple of employees and then a couple of people who started reading this book and they're like, this could be the most amazing book I've ever read. I want to get together and talk about it. And I'm like, I want someone to talk about it too, because I had read it early and I was just waiting for customers to come in and talk about it. So we got together, this group here, which was a really nice, diverse group of people. We got together 3 times and read 200 pages, talked about it, read the next 200 pages, talked about it, and finished the book and talked about it again. So that was a special, super special event.
But it brings up an opportunity that the Bookworm has that isn't even on your event schedule, that
Right.
if you have that interest and that passion and want to develop your own community, go talk to you and the staff at the Bookworm.
Right.
Yeah.
And we try to do an event where we Zoom in with an author, and we have it, it's called our Women's Voices Book Club. We try to do it about once a quarter. We pick a book that either has, it's that bottom one there.
Here we go. I don't know if we can zoom in on this. This is, Karin had mentioned, this is the one that
This
you're doing.
sounds fascinating. I can't wait to read it. It comes out at the end of January, and we're going to Zoom with the author on March 1st. So this is the true story of a woman in Iceland in 1770 or so, and she becomes an Arctic sea captain, and which
wow.
is probably pretty unheard
I
of
was
at
just
that
gonna say
time.
that.
Way ahead of her time, and she also solves a mystery. So there's some fun things in there with it. But we try to do that. That book club is open to anyone. And so you can just kind of check our website or get on our mailing list for that. And that's a really fun way, because we probably have 20 to 30 people usually show up. You'd have a discussion with the person you're sitting next to, and then you're like, did you read this other book? And that leads to something else. And
So you had mentioned that the name of this book club is called Women's Voices.
Right.
So help us understand a little bit more about different topics of book clubs and maybe how book clubs focus on one topic versus another, because this clearly is around women's voices and bringing them out, letting them being heard, whether they're an author or they're the character.
Exactly.
So thoughts on that, Diane?
Well, it seems like over the last year we have focused a lot on World War II, just because I think there were so many books being published over the last couple of years about World War II. But we do everything from nonfiction to autobiography to classics, just whatever anybody feels that particular season. And we've talked about, although we have not done it yet, getting a local literature professor in to talk to us about one of the more classic books we read. We've had some great discussions around, for example, Bad Blood. There's been a lot of things breaking about that recently, but it informs your whole
And
idea.
for our viewers that may not
Interesting.
be familiar with Bad Blood, it's the story, I'm blanking on the woman's name, from Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes. And I think that
Sunny
brings out, and I come from the healthcare and pharmaceutical industry, and it just brings up a lot of very frosty passions, not positive frosty passions, but that's for another discussion. But thank you for sharing that breadth of topics. So now back to participating. So we talked a little bit about how there's a public, the libraries and the Bookworm. Now, Diane, tell us a little bit about the Alpine Club, because that also gives us another range of how to get involved with book clubs.
It is, the Alpine Club is a signature club through Vail Resorts. It's located in the Arrowhead community. You don't have to live in Arrowhead to be a member of that club. But people just send in their email or ask at the front desk, and they're included in the group, and we go from there. I know that there's another group in the neighborhood that does more of a literary book club. That's an invitation only. We take all comers. So I would imagine just about any club in the valley, your golf club maybe, or your church group or whatever, it'd be very easy to start one up by just asking about it.
And so you mentioned the Alpine Club. We know that there are quite a few different clubs here, so just reaching out to the clubs to see is a great way to start. Now, when we were preparing, we also focused in on some of the other widely known Valley clubs, such as, and I'm sorry, One Book,
One Book, One Valley.
One Book, One Valley. Tell us a little bit about that.
So that's been going on for, I think this is our 15th year. And it's a collaboration with all the library districts, the high schools in the Valley, and Town of Vail, and I could be forgetting a few, so I apologize, and the Bookworm. And we pick one book for everybody in the Valley to read. There are activities all through the winter, and then the author comes to speak in the spring. And that author will be going to all the high schools to talk to the kids who've read the book. And it's usually, the selection process is a book that would hit a wide range of people that would enjoy it.
I don't know if we can zoom
Yeah.
in. You had brought in the one that you're doing.
Yes, and so this is a young adult book, but it's suitable for adults, and I can't wait to read this too, but I'm going to wait until it's a little closer to when the author comes. So.
Just for everyone's, the downstairs girl.
Yeah.
So, well, what I love about this that you had mentioned is that it's a wide variety of ages. So
Yep.
it's the demographics are.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about choosing books. And Karin, this is something that you do very much and very often for many of the different book clubs in the area. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's always fun when a book club member comes in and said, oh, it's my month to choose a book, and we read this and this and this, and can you give me some ideas? That's a really fun part of my job. I really enjoy, there's a men's book club here, and they are very serious, and they take their choosing of a book to heart. And they'll spend an hour perusing through books, and most people will. I don't think most groups have a theme.
Okay,
I think it's pretty.
To know,
history, biography, lots of fiction, of course, and most of them are pretty literary. So that's a nice thing to kind of focus in on when you're helping them choose.
And Diane, I mentioned earlier that if I was joining a book club, I'd be a little intimidated. Can you help our viewers understand as a member what the expectation is for them if they're joining new? If I was coming into the Alpine Book Club, what expectations do you have of me?
Well, we're a very open-armed type of group.
Okay.
Any and all comers. If you haven't read the book, that's okay.
I love that because
sometimes life intervenes.
Right. Now, so open-armed and very warm and very embracing, and it's just about creating a community. Yeah.
Exactly. And we have people that are from all backgrounds, all educational levels, but I've really found that everybody has something to add to that if they're comfortable doing it. And the biggest thing for me is making sure they're comfortable doing that and speaking up. So people are not required to speak. They're not required to facilitate. It's just a matter of, are you interested in this book, and do you want to dig into it a little bit more and talk about it with a group the next time?
Well, thank you for making me feel comfortable about this. And ladies, I'm just so grateful for your time here and educating us. And I want to thank our viewers for joining us for the book club episode. And one thing that I will say is not only is it a fabulous way to become part of the community, I'd also just like us to say, let's continue to support our local establishments as well. And so if you're looking to choose a book, please don't go to Amazon. Think of your local choices, maybe the Bookworm. Have a great day. This is Cece Zach with Good Day Vail.